y'all, so it is reading vlog week. Woo! So I am currently in the process of book surfing, so rather than giving you guys a rundown of every single book I'm currently reading, because there's a lot of them, I figured I would just highlight which book I have been reading for the day. So today I worked on The Diviners by Libba Bray, and I'm enjoying this one so far. I went into this only knowing that it was supernatural. It was set in 1920s New York City. I did hear from Kim at Kimberly Reads that this does have a serial killer in it as well, so that just, bumped my interest. I'm about 2 hours into the audiobook and thus far have met two different points of view. One is Evie, who's this kind of rich girl who lives in a small town in Ohio, but she feels like she's too big for the town, and after some drama goes down, her parents send her to live in New York City with her uncle. Not a big fan of Evie, if I'm being honest. She's kind of annoying, kind of a brat, waiting for something to happen that's gonna humble her and take her down a few pegs. However, she does have this ability to read objects, so when she touches something, she can see the history behind it or the history behind the object's owner. In the other timeline, we followed Memphis. Memphis' mother passed away and his father moved to Chicago to try and find a job, but he and his little brother are living with their aunt for the time being. If he's not a bookie, he is something bookie adjacent or a middleman or something like that, because he's been taking bets from people. Not really sure what else is happening tonight. I probably will take Faith for a walk. I might do some editing, or I might coerce my parents into watching some more Halloween movies with me. Also, we're gonna do a quick update because I have started on Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and I already love this book so much. I am 2 chapters in, and I can tell this is gonna be a fast read. Oh wait, I'm buddy reading this, and I can't blast through it. So this book is actually completing 3 prompts for my Spooktober readathon. I will put a link to that in the cards up above, but this is a fantasy read, a superstition read based on folklore, as well as a buddy read. This story is following Yadriel, who is a young trans boy. He is a part of a Latinx and Afro-Caribbean culture that practices brujeria or sorcery. His family is not really taking his identity as a trans boy seriously. They very much believe that the women are supposed to focus on healing properties of magic and the men are supposed to focus on the more aggressive styles. However, they believe because Yadriel is trans that he isn't truly a brujo because he is simply choosing to be a man, so he can't choose to be a brujo. However, Yadriel is determined to become one and prove to his family that he is in fact a real man. Before we get into all the good stuff, let's just talk about how gorgeous this cover is. Like, this thing is beautiful. Thus far, I really loved getting to learn about brujeria. I'd never really been exposed to that before, and I'm really fascinated. I'm probably going to research into this some more because it's a really interesting culture and it's a different kind of Latinx mythology folklore that I've never really heard about previously. Although Yadriel is having struggles with his family and his community accepting him, he has a cool uncle who accepts his identity and can relate with what he's going through because his own magic isn't very powerful. He also has a best friend who is a vegan, and in brujeria you have to use a blood sacrifice a lot of the time in order to use your magic, and she won't do it because she's a vegan. We also get to see his really adorable pet cat named Picasso, like Picasso. And that's so cute. This has already been kind of emotional too, I'm not gonna lie. He's trying really hard to be cool about it when other people in the community don't really understand him or maybe misgender or even drop his dead name, but his own grandmother actually does it at one point and he gets angry about it, and in response she apologizes, but she also comments, "Well, you'll always be my little girl." And that was just a knife to the heart. However, I've also been getting to practice my Spanish a little bit because it's been 3 years since I've taken a Spanish class, and I'm picking up on some words still. Pretty proud of myself. I also really like that Aiden Thomas isn't giving us a line in Spanish and then directly translating it on the next line. It just feels so much more authentic, and it's not as though you really need to go Google every single line, because Aiden Thomas provides you with enough context clues that you can put together what they're saying or get the gist of it. I've already started tabbing up. Like I said, very excited to dive deeper into this, but I'm only supposed to read the first 25% before Paige and I start talking about it. We'll see if I can stop myself. This is my 4th time attempting to film this because apparently I'm on the struggle train today. So today I've been working on 2 books. One is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This story is following 4 men who are Native American, and when they were teenagers, they went on a hunt on a section of the reservation that was supposed to be reserved for elders only. On this hunt, they ended up coming across an entire pack of elk and killing all of them. It's now about 10 years later, and the men believe that they are being hunted down by the spirit of one of these elk. So far, I've been really enjoying this. It is a horror read, and it's definitely got some gory and freaky scenes, I will definitely say. The first chapter was in the perspective of Ricky, but then almost the rest of the first half of the book was in the perspective of Lewis, who had left the reservation and was married to a white woman. Now we are back on the reservation, and we were watching from the perspective of Gabe and Cass. We're alternating between the two. However, we're also seeing from the perspective of the spirit that is haunting them. And it's very interesting where it's almost as though this spirit is a human for the first time. We haven't really been told that specifically, but it very much seems as though she's kind of out of place, and we'll have to watch these different interactions and try to figure out what's happening and what they mean and things like that. It's very odd. However, with all of this, I do really like that we're learning a little bit about the Blackfeet culture in this. The author himself is a Blackfeet Native American, so that's pretty cool. Own Voices story. In the section I was reading today, specifically, they were talking about sweat lodges and discussing the setup, the tradition, and like the ceremony that all goes into a sweat lodges and what it means to them. Along with that, I've also been reading My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyonkun Braithwaite. This story is following a woman whose sister has officially become a serial killer. She kills all of her boyfriends, and then afterwards her sister will come and help her clean up. So far, I've really enjoyed the writing style in this. It's very non-linear, and the chapters are very short and have a specific subject that they will focus on. So many of them have been labeled as father, and will discuss the background of the 2 girls and their abusive father and what went into possibly creating a serial killer who I'm pretty sure is a psychopath, and I think our main character realizes she's a psychopath as well, but doesn't want to admit it. I am not the biggest fan of our main character. She's very much a doormat. She lets her sister and her mother walk all over her, and her only real friend is a man in a coma at the hospital she works at, who she divulges all her secrets to. I'm torn in calling her an enabler because she covers up these crimes for her sister, and then she actually will actively continue to point out like, hey, maybe you shouldn't post this on social media because it seems odd, what with, you know, your boyfriend missing and all, and almost acts as her manager in that way. I know that's a very odd metaphor there, but that's what it makes me think of. However, I also think there is the possibility that she feels a duty to her little sister to protect her, or even it could be self-preservation because she herself could get arrested if it's found out that she is covering up these crimes for her sister. I don't really know which one to label her as, but she could be all 3 at the same time. This story is very satirical and has a kind of ironic comedy style where only our main character and her sister are aware of the real awful things they've done, and all the other characters in their lives are very unaware of what lies beneath the surface that we have seen. My tripod just fell, so apologies if this angle has changed a lot, but that's what I've been working on today. I'm probably going to read some more of Cemetery Boys tonight, and that's about it for now. I'll talk to you guys later. Hey y'all, so it is Wednesday. It's Wednesday, right? So I finished 2 books this week. I'm also hungry, so I'm gonna be snacking. So first off, I finished The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, and I really liked this book. It was dark, it was creepy. The ending was very like bittersweet. It's gory and scary and freaky, but it also just has deeper elements, like highlighting the cultural identity of the men and diving into some actual issues for Native people. Overall, really enjoyed this. Very good book. Definitely would recommend. Next, I finished My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. This had an unsatisfying ending. It fit with the rest of the book, but I wasn't happy that it did so. I do, however, think that our main character was really driven by duty to protect her family and protect her little sister, but I think in doing that, she became an enabler for her sister's killing. I liked this, but I'm not really sure what my rating is gonna be yet. I'm gonna have to think it over a little bit more, so we'll see. I also hit the 25% mark in Cemetery Boys last night, and it's very bittersweet because I got farther in and we officially got to meet Julian, who is the bad boy that Yadriel accidentally summons. But at the same time, I can't keep reading. When Julian is summoned, the last thing he remembers was hanging out with his friends, and so he tells Yadriel that he won't cross over until he ensures that his friends are safe. So he's kind of being a pain in Yadriel's side, but he's also being a good person. I really liked his characterization so far because, yes, he definitely puts up that whole like bad boy vibe, but you can see he's definitely like a morally good person. So he's kind of right in that like chaotic good line, which I love in characters because that's my favorite kind of bad boy. Finally, I went by the library today and got a physical copy of The Diviners by Libba Bray. I am about 4 hours into the audiobook, but I'm gonna start doing this as a physical read as well since I am done with the Cemetery Boys for now. I'm liking this one. I met the serial killer and he's terrifyingly creepy. I'm also starting to feel more for Evie because her brother died in World War I, and that's something that really weighs on her conscience a lot. Along with that, her uncle is enlisted by some cops to check out a crime scene that they think may be tied to something mystic or weird, and Evie's like, a crime scene? I want to go with you. And damn, if I didn't feel that in my soul. We haven't really seen as much of Memphis as we have of Evie, so I'm curious if that's going to change and he's going to become a more main character, or even if other point of views are going to get tossed in, because for the most part we've been focused on Evie's. However, with that, we have learned that Memphis works for, I don't want to say mob boss, but a kind of mob boss, or at least someone who deals in alcohol, and given the fact that this is Prohibition era, that's, you know, illegal. Also, y'all, there is an AR label in this, and I don't know where all this was a thing, but like, AR was basically this thing when I was in elementary school where you would read a book and then afterwards you could take a quiz over the book, and if you got a high enough score, you would get points for it, and at the end of the year, if you had like the most amount of points, you could get prizes. And wow, I just had some serious flashbacks with that. It is movie night tonight. We have been working on the animated Tim Burton films. So last week we watched Frankenweenie. I don't know what we're watching this week. Friday, I forgot to update yesterday, gonna be honest, but I had some clips from me hanging out at my brother's. We finished Clone Wars last week, so instead we watched a horror movie, Happy Death Day, which is like one of my absolute favorites because, you know, it's October. I've gotten a bit farther into the diviners and I'm really liking it still. We've had an additional point of view added. His name is Sam. He's like this petty thief, but he has an ability to make people not see him. He's not invisible, but he has some sort of telepathic power, so he can tell other people to not notice that he is there, so pretty good at thieving. We met him initially when Evie first arrived in New York and he stole 20 bucks from her. I'm still liking this. I'm very intrigued about the serial killer. I want to learn some more about him. He has this creepy song he like sings while he's working, and it honestly just made me think of the scene for Thankless job in the movie Repo. So
it's a thankless job, but somebody's got to do it.
However, I have also started on another book, and that is the graphic novel Monstrous by Marjorie M. Liu. I'm liking this so far. This is my short read for my Spooktober readathon. Our main character here is Micah? One of those. I'm gonna put it on the screen because I'm not sure how to pronounce a lot of things in this world yet. But Micah is a teenage girl. She is also a Arcanic, which is one side of this war. Arcanics are magical creatures, but they can kind of pass as humans sometimes. So we've also met someone who looked like a Cyclops. We had this little girl who was like half fox, and there was one who had wings. On the opposite side, there are Kumeya, I believe, which are these kind of sorceresses who will eat the Arcanics in order to like fuel their power. So pretty gory graphic novel so far. Micah allowed herself to be captured in order to infiltrate this group of Kumeyas to try and find one specifically who she believes knows her mother and what happened to her, which is what Micah's trying to find out. I do know that somehow Micah is supposed to have some kind of a link to a monster. Haven't really seen that yet, but I've only read the first issue thus far. When I was reading it, I actually did think that some of the artwork of the people in particular was reminiscent of a certain portion of X-23's comics, and it turns out that I was right. This actually was the same artist. That's all I have to report so far. I'm hoping to read a bit farther into Monstrous tonight, and I will possibly be listening to some more of the Diviners while at work. I will check in with you guys later. Hey y'all, so it's Saturday. I am just getting ready to head over to Josh's here soon. We are going to a drive-through haunted house with his parents tonight. Don't know what that's gonna all involve, so we'll see how that goes. But I thought I'd give you guys a little update. So I've actually hit the halfway point in the Diviners. All of our main point of views were at this nightclub when a raid went down, and many of them ended up interacting with the other points of views. So we might finally start dwindling down because I think we've hit like 8 different people, and that's a lot. Next, I was reading some more of Monstrous this morning. I think I've read the next 2 issues still. This is like such an interesting world. And it turns out that it is actually the Arcanics, which are like the mystical people, which our main character Micah is, versus humans who have teamed up with the Kumeya sorceresses and witches and things like that. I think I mentioned previously how this art style kind of is like a steampunk version of 1900s Asian culture. Well, we actually had some Egypt tossed in there as well for a few scenes, so that was a different spin that wasn't expecting, but fit surprisingly well. We've also been introduced to possibly my new favorite character. His name is Ren. He's a necromancer cat. He is sassy as hell. I love him. He's hilarious. I've also started onto Mexican Gothic, and I'm liking this. I love the gothic aesthetic that's just going throughout this. I know that's like hard to believe with the title like that. So far, I really want to say this story is very reminiscent of like Rebecca and Wuthering Heights. I really like that our main character, Noemi, is very much like a feminist protagonist in this like 1950s Mexican setting. That's pretty cool, and I think it really is pushing back against the usual female protagonists in a lot of gothic stories, but given the fact that we have a female author, that's not really surprising, but I really appreciate it. Some of the other characters we've been introduced very much fit the different gothic character archetypes, which I like, but I'm assuming we're probably going to get to see some more depth from them the farther in. I think I'm only like 2 hours in, so I still have a good like 8 hours in the audiobook. I've been trying to get the physical copy of this from my library for like a month, and I've been the first person on the reserve hold list for a while, and I don't know. Apparently the person before me just isn't bringing it back, and I don't appreciate that. Hey y'all, so it is Sunday night. I haven't read anything extra because I had a lazy day, but I did some yoga, I painted my toenails, I did a peel off face mask, and now I'm attempting to paint my nails, but I'm right-handed and I'm having to do my right hand, so this is going great. But I thought I'd go ahead and close out this vlog, so thank you so much for coming to my channel today, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Bye!